with me. Do what I need to do. All right. I don't know how well being able to show some of this off tonight is going to go. So we'll see how that goes. I may end up pointing the camera back at the screen of this computer. I've already got a lot running on it. It may freak out. It may crash the broadcast tonight. We'll find out, I guess. But I think I figured out, potentially figured out, I've potentially figured out, not necessarily successfully, but I did figure out how to do the audio channels, and that's sort of why I'm wearing the headphones right now. The audio channels on my audio game. I was playing around in Audacity and just sort of trying to figure out what I needed to figure out in order to get it to do what I needed it to do, which was record stereo and then record from a cut point on the stereo file 2 individual mono files that I can use to play 2 different tracks. And I did the experiment of having the earphones and pulling one out and hearing one track, and then switching and hearing the other track, and then having them both in and hearing 2 people speaking entirely different sentences at the same time. And so it works. I got that to work, and then I exported it as an MP3 and can import it into software so that if I want to incorporate images, so like for a rough draft of something, I might put an image of the puzzle, or I might simply do a slideshow of the story pieces, like the narration or closed captioning, essentially, if people were interested in doing that, with maybe some visual elements for visually aiding sighted people doing a puzzle. That's one of the things that I think I figured out. And so I wanted to see, I don't know if this is going to work, because I don't think, I can't direct line in the audio from this one to this one. Yeah, this is going to be the hard part of doing this tonight. I don't think I can pull it all off together, but what I want to try to do is, using the headphones against the microphone, can I get it to pick it up? You'll have to let me know if you can hear it when I put it up there. I doubt this is going to work, but I want to give it a try. So here it goes. I got it cranked all the way up.
Okay, so this should be recording the base level stereo topic here, and now we should be recording. I think we're recording on the right speaker now, so we want to make sure that's how that one's set. Let's check.
So I don't know if that worked at all for you. I could kind of hear it from out here. Yeah, so basically what I had there was the first half of it is stereo, me talking straight. And then the second half of it is actually left channel is me talking about how now we're focusing on the left channel, and the right channel is me talking about this should be the right channel instead of the left. And so it sounds sort of gibberishy at the last half of it, because both speakers were playing at the same time. So now I want to see if I can get you just one channel and see if that makes more sense. So.
Okay, so this should be recording the base level stereo topic here, and now we should be recording mono on the left speaker or the right. I'm not sure which one we're on right there. So let's check.
And so if that worked at all for you, and I have no way of knowing, it's like a slipshod, jerry-rigged way of trying to get it to show up, but it shouldn't be as garbled, because you're only getting the left channel, which is one statement, and not having a different statement appearing on the right channel. And so I got it to work. I got it to work enough that I could build a file that does that, yeah, it's a headphone into a microphone. You're gonna lose quality real quick, and I can't crank this one up anymore. And I know when I play with the volume on this, it sometimes freaks out my computer. So it's a little hit or miss. But so yeah, I was playing around with that, and I got it to export as a solid file where there's no audio mix up on either of the channels. It's a clear cut, left only, right only, and then you stack them together. It works really well. I got it to export as an MP3 that plays, so I can put the headphones in and out and get which track I'm supposed to be playing on just fine. And I went, all right, we got an MP3 that works that way. Pulled it over into my video editing software and laid it down as an audio track, and it still works in that sense. And so I can put slides of this story element, like you find yourself joined by a crew of adventurers ready to enter the temple, and you have 15 seconds before the island sinks into the sea or some such thing, and you're trying to get into the compartments that are protected artifacts that can teach you a lot about the people who lived on Atlantis and where they went after they escaped the sinking island. Like, I can do a story like that in audio read as well as text on the screen, or give visual elements to it, and then have the audio switch to one of the tracks when you have made a choice in a puzzle or something. So I think I've got it worked out. Now the biggest hurdle on this process for me is I did Audacity for recording, and the way I did this for the first part of it was I took Audacity as my recorder. Let's see, do I have my Audacity still open? Yes. Okay, so this is gonna, it might freak out on me, but this is the Audacity file. It's split into two different, basically what I did was I went into Audacity, recorded the first part of it as a stereo file. And then I went into, at the top of the file, it has the section that says audio track. And if you open that up, it has split stereo track. And when I split those stereo tracks, it made two tracks out of them instead of the one. I mean, it always had them as two, but it let me select them individually. And then I went up, and you have to go over to the top where it says microphone. I still have the same microphone chosen, but I switched it over from stereo recording channel to mono recording channel. And the trick with that was, it took me a few minutes to realize what I needed to do. When I switched over to mono recording, it records in mono, but plays it in stereo. So it's playing one track on both earpieces. And that's not what I wanted it to do. So what I had to do was go into each of the mono tracks and pick a left all the way to the left. And it's a slider. It has a left-right slider at the bottom, at the side. The screen's going to freak out again, but we'll give it a go. You can kind of see, no, well, maybe you can't. It's too bright. Sides, there are these pieces of information about the individual tracks, and there's a slider here and a slider up here for each one of the tracks, and those sliders designate left versus right channel. And so for the one I wanted to be on the left channel, I set it all the way over to the left. You can do degrees of it. You can do like a 75% left channel, but slide it all the way to the left, and then the other one I slid all the way to the right, and so it's 100% left channel, 100% right channel. The first half of both of those files are a mirror. They copy each other so that it's on both channels. And then halfway through, I did a mono record channel for each of them, and I recorded to select the top one, and then select the point right where the audio ends for the stereo, and in mono record the bit you want on that channel, and did the same thing for the select the bottom channel and record what I want on that channel. And you can trim them up so that they're even, and then you can I think the thing I still need to figure out is can I cut pieces out and insert them at the end of that, because I want to go stereo, mono, mono, stereo, mono, mono, and just be able to repeat that pattern. So that's what I did in Audacity, and it worked relatively well. Like I said, I still have to figure out how to stack subsequent stereos on after the monos, but quite frankly, if I can't even work that out, it's not a big deal, because what I ended up doing was exporting as MP3, and then it leaves them as individual files I can leave on my desktop. And I can play those files for me to sense where they fit in everything. But I'm putting them over into my video editing software, and I can just stack a stereo mono pair next to another stereo mono pair. And I can put them all together in the editing software, and that works just fine. So I don't have to worry about it too much. There are ways to do that. But I'm just sort of, glad I figured out what I needed to get figured out in order to make this work. Now the biggest thing I have to really focus on is the script I need to do for the adventure and the puzzles that lead to the next part. And I think, as I was stating yesterday, I was going for a 3-puzzle layout. So I just need to figure out what my 3 puzzles or 3 pieces of trivia or whatever are going to be, and build my story around them in a way that works out, and then hit the end point where it's going to be, did you get 2 out of 3 right? If so, you win. If you got 2 out of 3 wrong, then, too bad. Start over, get it right the next time, or some such thing. And then I think I have a demo. I should have a demo version ready by the end of the week. I've got a lot of other things on my plate right now, so I feel like I'm chasing all sorts of crazy things all over the place. But this is very encouraging to me, because I could knock out a very simple demo to show off to some other people by the end of the week. It's one of those things, when I was trying to discuss with people, trying to figure out, what's the name of the type of puzzles, because I want to do this interesting thing with it. I couldn't get anybody to understand my descriptions of it. So if I can just show them, might make it a butt-ton easier. But yeah, so I did that in Audacity, exported as MP3 files, so you could load them onto, if you built a sequence of files in Audacity and exported the whole thing as a MP3 file, you should be able to load it onto your phone or an iPod or other MP3 player, and carry that with you as a mobile audio game system. And you can I want to build a device that you don't have to pull your headphones in it. Like I can probably get away with doing, one here, and just playing that game that way. But in the long run, I'd like to have a physical object, like a sort of like a set of buzzer buttons, where when you pick a channel, you hit a button and it shifts both. It shifts both speakers to play left channel, and then you hit this button and it shifts both speakers over to playing right channel. So it feels like it's playing audio in stereo, but the 2 speakers are in fact just playing different, playing the same channel through 2 speakers. And I feel like if that little accessory, like, you don't have to buy it to play the games, but I think it makes it a little bit more of a game than futzing with your headphones. But that's for something further down in the future. I mean, I'm not sure. Yeah, and that's essentially what I was thinking, is basically doing a pair of speakers, small, simple speakers that they have basically the left line and the right line both come into the left and right speakers, and then they also have a spliced line that feeds to the other speaker. Yeah, there's a switching mechanism I can probably do for that. I could probably 3D print out a case for it, and it shouldn't be super hard. I think the biggest thing I was struggling with that plan was that my inclination is to do a press button, and it's not, I don't want it to be something you have to hold down while you're on the second channel. Like, you press it down and it stays down, sort of like those light switches, the fulcrum light switch, where it's like one part's raised, you push it and it clicks into the up position and the bottom one sticks out. Like the teeter-totter, essentially, is what I'm going for. I'd like to build something like that. The problem I have with that is switching, like, it's not really a dual position that you want. It's a 3-position situation. So you want all the way to the left to play both channels as left. You want all the way to the right to play both channels as right. You want in the middle to play one left, one right. And I'm not sure yet how I would pull that off. I'm sure it's a very simple electronics wiring setup. I could probably just head down to the makerspace and just fiddle for a few hours and figure it all out. Or I could probably ask somebody else at the makerspace what they think is the best way to pull that off. I could probably have it done in 15 minutes. But anyway, yeah, the construction of the unit shouldn't be too hard to do. But I mean, the reason I get a little torn about that is, like, that becomes a product that I develop. You know, I develop or 3D print and wire together these plug-in audio channel switching game devices for YouTube videos or podcasts. That's a cool device. I don't want to be manufacturing a lot of them, and I don't want people to feel like they have to have one in order to play the games. Now, I did sort of contemplate, like, one of the things that's a good example of something like this was, I remember being younger in the late 80s, early 90s, I want to say, when the first wave of virtual reality stuff came out, and it was interesting and it caught everybody's attention for a little while. And then it faded, and we've got this new wave of people looking into virtual and augmented reality stuff that have come along. And that's cool. But I think the thing that broke the resistance was Google Cardboard. And if you've never heard of Google Cardboard, it's a brilliant little device of play that somebody at Google said, all right, so everybody's got a smartphone now. It's a screen. If you just mount that screen in front of 2 lenses and you set up the screen in such a way that it can give it the appearance of those old Viewmasters, and you set up the software to connect to video that plays through those systems, you can make a virtual reality headset. And I loved the fact that it was literally just, the software was something you can put on your phone, and the Google Cardboard was a thing you could literally use the templates to build one at home. And I kind of want to do something like that for my audio games. Like, I want to figure out if there's a simple way where I can take a pair of earbuds like these that you can get at like the dollar store for next to nothing, plug them into a MP3 player, your phone with an audio file on it, or your laptop or your desktop computer. And you plug it into this cardboard construction that we figure out. And you have a slider or a teeter-totter scale on it or some mechanical mechanism that pushes one of the earbuds up against the channel for playing the audio. And there's got to be a mechanical way that I can make a simple device that lets a pair of earbuds function in this format and release the plans freely on the web for people to play with, and then offer the option of like 3D printing and hand assembling premium versions or some such thing, or sell the PDF files for you to 3D print your own, something like that. That to me seems like it's probably the best approach. I think it just takes a little more engineering on that end of the spectrum. And I might end up considering expanding on that idea more for a product category of Creative Week, which should be the end of October, if I get my cards right. So I'm kind of really getting into this. Like, it's turning out like I'm hesitating saying this because I know I'm going to jinx myself, but it's turning out to be not as hard as I anticipated it being to get the end result that I want to get. So I still have Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at this point left in the week. So I'm going to try to see if I can engineer the story to a simple 3-puzzle story by the end of the week as a proof of concept. And I feel like one of the things I want to do with this, once I've created these, is I may reach out to a couple of the bigger YouTubers I know and some of the people I met at the convention this year at VidCon, and let them know about it. And after that, kind of see if I can get them to create their own game to share with us. Like, that would be really fun to do. Like, find another YouTuber out there and say, like, here's this thing, try it out, what do you think? And then, like, can you come up with a game for this same mechanism? And, if you need help, I'll help you figure it out. I should easily be able to get the proof of concept done by the end of this month. You're right. Doing a Halloween special one would be kind of fun to do. I wonder if that one I could do as a little bit more. That one, because it's Halloween, I could do a little bit more of the choose your own adventure style, where it's not puzzles that you get at every choice you make necessarily. It's more like you're trying to figure out how to escape and you come to a fork in the road. Do you go left or do you go right? If you make the wrong choice, you die at the end of the wrong path. And so that way I could keep perpetuating the story to be make a choice left or right, make a choice left or right, because every time you make the wrong choice, it kills you. And I can build a labyrinth or a maze that way. So that's not a bad idea. And that would be, like, I could do like a corn maze haunted by monsters or something. That would be fun to do. That would be kind of fun to do, yeah. And I think at that point I should have worked out at that point a possible way that you can construct a playable device that you can construct at home for continuing to play. But wow, okay, so that's a good ramble there on, not so much a ramble, that was pretty productive discussion right there, of the audio game that I've been working on. I haven't been neglecting the music. I pulled up LMMS and did a little dabbling. I actually entered the Dig-a-Dig-a-Doo first 4 bars, and they are pretty repetitive. I want to see if I can get it to play for me in a way that I can play it for you. I'm not sure this is going to work. I can show you the screen if it doesn't work. So let me give this a try here. This could be a real adventure in what my equipment can and can't do. Okay, yeah, your device will restart to update outside active hours. Okay. Yeah, don't restart my computer when I'm in the middle of doing something, you little wanker. Why would you do that when I plugged in the headphones? That's such a weird thing to choose to do. All right, so I don't think you'll be able to hear this, but okay, I can hear it on my earphones. So I'm going to see if I can get this to play to you over the speakers again. I got it nice and loud. Okay. This is gonna be weird. So all right, so that's, yeah, let's stop. I don't want to hear it anymore. Stop. And that's a very simple. Okay, cool. So now I know I can do that with some audio. I got to find a better way to do that. But now I know that with some earphone jack to speaker of some kind, I can route sound for sound projects. So that's not a bad experiment we just did. It helps me understand a little bit more what I can get away with. And if I can just figure out OBS and get it to work for me, I could probably include still images at the bottom of the image here and potentially some moving video up in the top. We will see if I ever get that figured out. But in the meantime, that is the single note version of Digga Digga Doo's first 4 bars cycling through. I think I want to do maybe like 3 or 4 repeats of that, then change that last bar to lead into like a solo of some kind, and then recycle back through the 4 bars again. Now, the other thing I want to try to do is, and I didn't really get to it just yet, I was so busy trying to handle a few other important things going on here, but I want to break each one of those single tones into a chord with a chord up here and then a mirroring tone down below. I don't know enough of the music terms to say it right, and then I need to add a beat to it and potentially an over melody. And I don't know if I'm going to pull off the melody just yet. I need to do some rhythm and beats to it and see if I can split the chords up. I might even do like a split chord for some of it, because it looks like there's a lot of repeats. It's B B, it's B B B B B. A lot of repeat of the same tone in some areas. And if you split those, if you make them chords and you split the first part of it to be the top part of a chord and the second part of it to be the bottom part of the chord, and do a split chord that way, I think it'll actually break up a little bit of the monotony of it. And I could possibly even do, on a few of those bars, I could probably even do an arpeggio for some of the longer half bar notes. So that's sort of like the next step of that process for me, is dabbling with splitting the chords up, giving the lower beat the drone to it, I guess I would call it, and then setting a beat. And if I can get that to sound even a little bit better, I might dig, like that's just the first 4 bars. Some of the later bars look a little bit more varied and interesting, and I may actually just plug in some of those and move bars around and see if any of them sound interesting. So a little bit more play in that. And actually, honestly, that's another one that I was doing tonight. And I was sort of like, this is going to be a lot of hard work to make this, figure this part out. And as I sat down to work at it, I'm like, oh, just opened up that piano roll and clicked on a spot, added a note, and it was a quarter note, and that worked fine. Added the next quarter note, and that worked fine. I put 4 quarter notes down to form a bar, and then I went, okay, like those aren't in the right position. Where's the note on this? Went through there, and I went, okay, here's where it should be. Moved it, and it worked. I do have a mixer somewhere that I could probably play with, like an external mixer. I know I think the LMMS has an internal mixer as well. Yeah, the music's going to be, I mean, the tools to use, I think, are actually relatively well structured and easy enough for me to figure out. I think the hard parts for me is going to be my difficulty in reading music and my unfamiliarity with building music from scratch. So I'm going to explore a little bit on what I can achieve with just the arpeggio and split chords in place of individual notes and the varied drone and a beat alteration, and see what I can do with that. I think in the long run, that'll probably get me pretty far. There are actually some good courses on Udemy that I took. There's a really comprehensive music theory course. And I took the first half of it, getting at least a little bit of understanding of how to understand a little bit of music. But that was like, I took that, I think, probably 4 or 5 months ago. No, it had to be before New Year's. I think I did it back in December or October last year. And it was informative. And it was one of those things where I'm like, oh, yeah, I should really be taking notes and studying this a little bit harder. But I'm following him. I'm following along as he did the course. And I made it about, I think, a third of the way through the course at this point, and learned a bit about just some of the concepts of what a chord is and how to structure around a chord and the nature of how that all works out. And I learned enough to know that I can't wing it as much as I want to wing it. Like, I can't just sit there and plug in random notes, because it's going to take me 5 hours before I find a reasonably good sounding set of tones. But with a little bit of note taking and practice and awareness, I think I can get to the point where I can get a sense of chords and chord progressions that, when assembled in a decent way in a bar, can let me build a few Legos that are to my liking for creating new works from. And, I was in band in high school, but I was a big guy. And as a big guy, I was one of the few people who could carry the bass drum. So I got the bass drum. So about the only musical training other than mimicking singing by ear, which is what I did in chorus, the only musical training I got was rhythm. I could do a beat, but I never learned to read music on a sheet, and I never learned the relationships between them. I never learned what notes go into what kind of scale in school. So, like, I'd always heard terms like a major or a minor scale, but I never knew what made the difference between them. I'm still a little rough on some of that, but I do know it has to do with the rule of fifths. And, well, I'm pretty sure it has to. Now I'm starting to doubt myself. So yeah, I'm still very much a novice at it, but that's fine. I want to see what myself as a novice can do with this, and practice and learn and grow a little bit as I play around with it a little bit more. I'm never going to be, well, I don't imagine that at any time soon I will be producing a saleable song, but I imagine that I could probably get to the point where I could make background music for videos like this, if it were a pre-recorded video, or I could make music for some of my video game design ideas. It'd be really kind of cool if I could make a theme song playable for my channels at the Open. It would be super awesome if I could get to the point where, like the game Cuddle Pop, where I want to do like the closing credits songs and the gameplay song and the opening credits songs. Like, I want to be able to build those songs from scratch. Will I be able to? I don't know. But I'm willing to play around with it for a little while to try to figure it out. So I've had a little bit of fun putzing around with the audio stuff today. And ran some errands. Did a lot of contacting of people online. Like, you ever just have that feeling like it would be so much easier if I could just sit down and devote all the time I need to the projects I'm working on and not have to worry about silly things like, oh, we ran out of toilet paper. I should probably go get some more. If that just solved itself, that would be amazing. I want to get to the point where I don't have to say like, oh, well, I can't afford to buy the extra toilet paper right now. I need to block that into a time frame in my month. I just want to get to the point where none of that's a concern. Like, I can stock up for 2 or 3 months and just sit down and create things for a while. Oh, speaking of which, I did some brainstorming as we approach October. October is the month before National Novel Writing Month, which is usually I like to do a switch over in my video styles for National Novel Writing Month, where I'll end up doing books or short stories to generate ideas and prompts for writers to write with. And you can do the same thing with movies and TV programs as well. And so I got to thinking, like, I got, in my early days of doing this, I would do 1 video a week for four weeks of the month for books, movies, games, and products, which included food at first. And then I'd cycle back through the next month. And when I was doing that, when I hit November, which is National Novel Writing Month, I would do every day of the week, I would do a short story out of an anthology collection. And then the next week, it would be every day of the week would be a TV show, like first episode or 2 of a TV show. And then the third week was every day of the week was a small, simple tabletop game. And the fourth was something else, like a product or service that you could use for publishing your novel or something like that. And this year I was contemplating doing something similar. I do think I have a couple of book anthologies, short story anthologies, that I could use to do a short story every day for the entire month. And I looked up on Netflix and Amazon a couple of television anthology series where each episode is a different story that doesn't connect to the previous episodes. So I might be able to do a different episode of a TV program every day for a month. And I got to thinking, like, could I do that for everything? And I'm really not sure that's going to be a lot of videos. My new format is to do the review and then the creative prompts inspired by as separate videos. So for each one of those, that's 2 videos. If I do each of my categories each day, 2 videos each, that's 16 videos in a day. And then that's not counting the live creative videos at the end of the day. That sounds like That sounds like danger territory. I feel like that's it's a very big risk of potentially just spamming people's inboxes with notifications of new content created. I'm not sure I want to do that. I'm going to reach out to a few other online creators and see what they think about that. I do like the idea of potentially doing an entire anthology of stories and movies during the month. I may just back out and just do books and movies for the month and alternate days, maybe. And that way it would just be 2 videos a day. Well, 3 for the evening video, like this. Maybe. And I'm like I need more workload on me, but I'm also brainstorming a couple of other interesting projects that I would like to do, and I may try a few one-offs during the next couple months, just like 1 per month of 1 or 2 of these ideas. I got to figure it out. Still brainstorming, still trying to figure it out. We'll see where it all goes from here. All right, we're pretty much up at 45 minutes, which is reaching about where I want to end tonight. I will be back tomorrow night, hopefully with a little bit more to show off and play with. I very least I want to be able to have my 3 puzzles for my audio game by tomorrow night. If not, most of the script worked around them also. And I want to split the song into chords for my music piece. And after that, we should be good. Sort of hitting the home run after that for both of them. I'll be satisfied if it's a playable piece of music by the end of the week and a decent demo of what I want to do for these game designs. But I do thank you very much for the idea of a Halloween theme, because that got my brain stirring in the direction of doing a murder maze. I think that would be fun to do. All right. I will see. Well, I probably won't see you, but I will talk to you tomorrow. Take care and have a good night. Bing. All right. So there we go. Okay, so what are we working on next? Oh, we have to update the I'm gonna update my movie preview review.